We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the palatial Central Florida studios for today's POMcast. This beautiful Tuesday morning. Basically every day is beautiful down here. I hate to brag about that, but the weather is absolutely phenomenal. Temperatures in the 80s in July in Florida is pretty fantastic. Welcome to the POMcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit about media days. We're less than a week away from media days and the unofficial kickoff of SEC football. We got that. We'll have the car wash. Fall camps are going to open up. And then we're going to be full go all the way too. We have some questions that need to be answered. We might just think out loud a little bit today. Also, last night, the Beast of the East podcast was released. You can catch it on the Positively Ole Miss pages, either the YouTube page or the Positively Ole Miss Facebook page or my Twitter account. Now, it's not on the Rebel Walk stuff yet, but it's a way for you to get extra and other perspectives around the SEC and what's going on. And that is Eastern Division specific. So, as you can imagine, they talked a lot of Ken Seals and Connor Bazelak and JT Daniels and all those guys. It's on the podcast feed as well. And you can catch it on those places to do that. We're also working on a Best of the West podcast that's going to hopefully have non-Ole Miss people talking about the Western Division and the SEC. And just to give you a little bit different perspectives and just so you can hear an outsider's perspective to Ole Miss football. Now, of course, we're trying to keep these all fan-related. We don't want anybody that is just a mercenary out there basically just giving opinions for money. But so it should be kind of real. It should be kind of the way that we talk about other SEC schools. I mean, it should come about that when you talk about Ole Miss stuff. It's not going to be perfect, but they can give you a different perspectives than me saying, hey, we should win 10 games this year. And they're going like, well, Ole Miss should win 7 games. So, meet in the middle, kind of. So that'll be that, the Best of the West podcast. The Beast of the East debuted last night or this morning, depending on your platform. And we look forward to continuing that. They're going to do every Monday night at about 8:30. We'll do a live stream of the Beast of the East, and we're trying to set up a time for the Best of the West, and we'll see how that goes. Might be in the afternoon, might be in the morning. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Oh, if you're interested in following the show, you can follow the POMcast at the Stephen Willis or at the Rebel Walk, Facebook.com/. POMcast or Facebook.com/The Rebel Walk. Follow, hit like, please. We're on YouTube at positivelyolemiss.com. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. That'll tell you not only that we're streaming, you can find out what we're streaming about. As you found out last night, for people that have hit the bell and done that before, you were notified about Beast of the East. And that is a completely not Ole Miss related podcast, other than the fact that it's about 7 teams that are in the same conference. You can choose to go past that if you want. If you're interested in something like that, you want something to listen to, it's an hour of SEC East football and questions that you probably didn't even know that you had. So that was the Beast of the East podcast. We're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Audio-wise, we're on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're also on smaller podcatchers, but if we listed them all, we'd be here all day, and this is only a 30-minute podcast. So, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. That's Travel and Cruise World. Basically, with everything that's going on, a vacation planning, it's like a game of Russian roulette. One wrong thing, not knowing this about something, this is going on, could ruin your entire vacation. So if you're coming down to Central Florida, this is an opportunity to have somebody in the area that can be up to speed on those policies and let you know what you need to do. You don't really necessarily pay the travel agent in this situation. Disney does. So if you're coming down to Disney, hook them up, find out information, let them book it. The costs are the same as the website. And plus, you can find out what you need to know. They can provide that extra level of knowledge for you and your vacation and make it run as smooth as possible. I went to Hollywood Studios Sunday, walked around. It's the closest I've ever seen over the past year to things being back to normal. They're even grouping people together for pre-shows on rides, like the Rise of the Resistance and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's a pretty good thing, and you can be up on those if you hit Scott up at 1-800-330-7461. That's Travel and Cruise World. We're working on a promo for you guys. They'll get them to us shortly, so that's pretty awesome. Now, I do want to talk about this real quick, and I bag on the rankings from people all the time. There's people that in PFS that just for some reason just disrespect Matt Corral. They put him at like number 6, but that would be like number 100 in the country. When you see him come up on player of the year list over and over and over again. And I've said basically he's like Spencer Rattler. They're basically the same quarterback. They basically had the same season last season. And one's number 1 and one's unranked. Well, now let's show you a little bit the Ole Miss side of the coin. And this is from 24/7. And you just talk about Ben Garrett, and they're talking about he's predicting Ole Miss to be the number 2 team in the West and win 10 games. That's his absurd prediction. And Matt Corral is for Heisman. Ole Miss and Matt Corral are set for a big year, and Corral will enter the Heisman conversation. Can the Rebels win a couple big games on the national stage to propel Corral's campaign from a dream to a serious one? A win in Tuscaloosa would certainly cast him in that spotlight. Which, to me, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's fine. And I'm not going to talk him up throughout this whole thing whenever people rank him below and then bag them for ranking him up there. To me, those are good picks. They make sense. You can catch them at the 24/7 SEC preview. Ole Miss is predicted to finish 4th in the West in the 24/7 predictions. And Matt Corral is the leader for Player of the Year. There's some weird Players of the Years on that list. There's some people that tried like different stuff, but you can check that out at the 24/7 site. They've got that up as well. So that's pretty cool for them. And fun predictions from Ben and David. So that was awesome. But media days are less than a week away. and they're set up over 4 days, it's going to look a little bit different this year. And that's because of all the COVID protocols. So I don't think we'll have, hundreds of people in the lobby. I don't think. I think they bumped it down from 3 players to 2, and I imagine Radio Row and the basic mechanics of that is it's going to end up being a more SEC network event than it used to be this year, just because of what's going on now. They're inviting everybody and they're opening up, and I think not saying anything about it, but things are going to be affected by Alabama being like dead last in the country when it comes to vaccination. So I imagine the SEC, just due to liability stuff, there's no protections for that. There's anything like that. They're not going to just huddle people in a room like they did at Disney, because like Florida is over 50%, and basically all the elderly population has gotten vaccinated and did what they had to do. So there's a little bit more freedom down here. So I'm curious to what it's going to look like in Alabama, where I think 30 or 31% of the population are fully vaccinated. Not saying they shouldn't have media days. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that's probably going to cause the SEC to make additional rules. It's not going to be completely open, because the SEC is not going to take a lawsuit because a super spreader event broke out, even though, at this point, everything is a little bit different than it was this time last year. That's all I'm saying. The 2 players that Ole Miss should take, Matt Corral, obviously. I mean, I think there would be a mutiny if Matt Corral was not taken. And I would like to see a defensive player, and 1 offense, 1 defense, and maybe either Momo Sanogo or Otis Reese. Probably Otis Reese on the back end. So you can have the best offensive player, and the best defensive player. And just line them up, get questions. I mean, the things like the local media pre-scrum that happens, I don't think that is going to happen. I think the mechanics of this SEC Media Days is going to make it look different than the previous SEC Media Days. That's the point. It took me a long time to get there, but that's what I'm saying. I think this is going to basically morph into an SEC network event. And this year will be the impetus for that happening. We're doing live stuff. We streamed last night the Beast of the East podcast. We're working on the Best of the West podcast. If we have somebody in Hoover for SEC Media Days, we are going to live stream them there. That's just what we do. So, stay tuned for that. We're trying to give you guys as much of a well-rounded coverage as absolutely possible. Because over the last 10 years or so on the Ole Miss beat, and this has been me watching from afar and doing my own media stuff and whatever has to be done, you started to notice the circle getting smaller and smaller for information. And if one group of people were wrong about something happening, the other group of people, and basically it was 1 or 2 sources for every news outlet. So if one was wrong, they were all wrong. If one was right, they were all right. So that turned into a small circle, a small bubble of information, because there are some people that just do not play the breaking news game, and of course we do not play the breaking news game here. We just react to what is happening and have a good time following Ole Miss sports. And, it's just a great thing. But we wanted to provide another avenue for people, because people were getting the same information that was controlling the narrative, whether it was correct or not, and it became more and more incorrect. It became, probably back in the 80s and 90s, there was probably a 50% success rate for media covering Ole Miss, State, Southern, and all that. I mean, the little infrastructure and the competition and everything going on. Maybe, they just happened to get it right, or there were more talkative people back then, which is absolutely possible. But then as time went on to get to this current moment, people quit talking. People are now lying to pollsters. Things that just the simplest thing in the world, an anonymous vote of who you're in favor of, they're just lying to them. So polls are ending up wrong by 9 to 10%. And if you think that that's only happening at the national level and not going down to the local level, you're incorrect. Because it's the same thing. It's the same people. And if somebody would be willing to lie to those pollsters, they would be willing to anonymously lie for whatever reason to local media as well. So all of a sudden, the success rate of these guys using anonymous sources and playing the breaking news game dropped to 15%, 20%, somewhere around the Mendoza line. And it caused almost a letdown of the fan base, because they would say something that wasn't true. It ended up not happening, and it just looked like nothing was going right for Ole Miss. It was like a fail of some kind. And that started bothering me whenever they were controlling the narrative with that and doing things like that. And so I wanted to do something like this, and Positively Ole Miss. And I mean that as like absolutely Ole Miss. That's the way what the name means. But I get the other side of the coin. And it should be interesting that the narrative expands. The competition entering the marketplace forces everybody to be better. That's the benefit. If I am doing my thing correctly, not only are you getting information from me, but you're also getting information from them at a better clip. They do their job better. They have to, or they'll get beat, because they're asking you to give up money, and I am not. So whenever you look at what's going on in the media circle, keep that in mind. If there's something is going above and beyond, somebody is doing above and beyond, that is because of this. That is a side effect of the POMcast, of the Rebel Walk coverage. All this free stuff that we do on this channel, it is causing a ripple effect within the fan base. And people are adjusting and reacting as they see fit, whether it be better production quality, or trying to play with their times back and forth, or trying to be relevant here or there, or to do things a little bit differently to give themselves what they think is a self-perceived edge. It's all because of this channel and what we're doing. So thank you very much for signing on. Thank you very much for listening. We should easily eclipse 50,000 views this month. The podcast is set up for like a record month within about 4 days at this point. It's crazy. It'd be half a month to set the month record. Absolutely nuts. So thank you very much for that. But just remember, whenever you see other people reacting to it, it's because of this. It's because of what we're doing. And it's nothing to be ashamed. I believe I'm not competition with anybody. Nobody is doing what I'm doing. Nobody can do what I'm doing. So I am open to talking to every single person, and I'm not really concerned about what or how they are doing it, because, all I want is for them to be better. Simple. If I can improve what they're doing through competition, I just made your life better. And as an Ole Miss fan, you guys deserve it, especially after all we've been through. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about Beast of the East, Best of the West, and let you know what we have planned. Anyway, stick around. All right, welcome back to the POMcast. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about the rebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. They provide a subscriber level experience for no money, absolutely free. The only thing it costs you is time, and boy, oh boy, is it worth it. They have experts for all major sports, and they just do a lot of interesting things that you wouldn't necessarily think of in covering football. And they're allowed to be a little bit more experimental because of their setup. So go check out the rebelwalk.com for more information. That is the rebelwalk.com. Like I said before, the Beast of the East podcast, or videocast or whatever, released yesterday, late last night. We live streamed it. We have it up on our podcast feed now. It seems to be working pretty well. And we're working on the Best of the West to set up a similar type show for the next night. So that'll be like, late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, you get the Beast of the East. Late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, you get the Best of the West. Late Thursday night, Friday morning, you get the Rebel Walk recruiting show. That's the plan for what's going on. So you wake up in the morning for that morning commute back to the office or whatever's going on, and you can listen to that show. Then at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern, you got the POMcast right here, 30 minutes. Boom, quick. This is what's going on. This is what you need to know. No dilly-dallying. Later on, we've got a show coming up from Chris Muller. He's going to talk during the offseason about Ole Miss baseball. Kind of keep that going. We're not going to talk much. It's not going to be an overly long show, but we're going to talk about what's going on. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about the Major League Baseball draft. I think Taylor Broadway and Doug Nikhazy got drafted yesterday. Broadway went to the White Sox, Nikhazy went to the Indians, and I'm sure he'll have some stuff to say. And then Jackson Jobe and all that. It looks like Tim Elko escaped the first 10 rounds, so there's a chance to bring him back, especially in the age of name, image, and likeness. Especially in that age. So just remember that as well. So with the Beast of the East, we have Craig Ladd and Corey Burton. Corey is a Georgia guy. Craig Ladd is a Tennessee guy talking about the Eastern Division. They went all over it, Vandy, the whole 9 yards last night with major storylines for each team. It was pretty cool. And of course, we are members of the Ken Seals fan club at Vanderbilt, so any excuse to talk about Ken Seals, they're going to take that up. Best of the West would be a similar type situation, storylines, things going on. And then on Wednesday night, late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, will be around, not around the SEC. That's the old name. SEC After Dark with me and Corey. So everything that's going on those first two nights, even though I'm not taking part in the show, I'm hearing everything that is said. So I'll know the storylines getting into Wednesday. So we can kind of funnel those two SEC After the Dark. Corey Burton, he's, like I said, is the coast of the East. If we can do the Best of the West, I can listen to those guys and have my own takes going through. We're going to get Jeb Beecham here in a couple of weeks. He's in the process of moving down and getting himself a palatial Central Florida studios himself. So we're going to wait on that and not rush that, and then we're going to get a studio set up. And before football season, we should be able to go, and we'll have the nice little 3-box. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And the Rebel Walk recruiting show on Thursday. On Friday, we have the POMcast as usual. That might be the day that the baseball show airs. We're thinking about doing other shows as well. We have the preview, so that might be a good spot for a preview show. Although preview shows might be Thursday. We'll give it a couple of days to breathe. Reaction shows after the game, do an instant reaction after the game. Then we also are going to do what we're calling right now as a working title, the Monday Morning Quarterback, with David Walker. He was a former Texas A&M quarterback from back in the day, so he's going to want to talk about quarterback play and things like that, and should be fairly interesting. Previews, it looks like I think is going to be done by Evie Van Pelt, and we're working on somebody to do the instant reaction, but we have a little bit of time for that. And then, like I said, we have the baseball show with Chris Muller, and we're trying to get a basketball show set up with Trevor Oxley. All these different perspectives on this channel. This is what I dreamed about when I started doing this. Let's see, was it last March? We started breaking down what the Kiffin offense would look like with Corey Burton, and just in a podcast form, and everything's going. And all these ideas were being hatched together. And the point of this was as many perspectives as possible. I didn't want to create necessarily an Ole Miss channel, something like that whenever you see. I wanted to create a virtual TV network. That has been my goal throughout this whole thing. And, you know, starting to plan way back in the last summer and through this winter when we got the final equipment to now. I mean, we are probably 5 months in at this point, and it's doing fantastically well. You guys can't imagine how well this is going. And we are going to press this a little bit further into football season. And I assume the viewership is going to jump way up during football season, because historically this fan base goes crazy for football. So we're going to give you plenty of football. We also have another show with Leanne Herring that we're thinking about. It's not finalized at this point yet, but the ability to produce shows remotely. And last night was such a game changer for you guys, because it is going to allow me to get other perspectives in from around the country and not need you to have to rely on me. Because as you've seen a lot of me over the last 5 months. Now is the point where we do what we're doing. We do what we're going to do, but we start adding voices to where I'm just producing in the background. And it's going to be pretty fantastic. There's even some, I've heard rumors wanting to use this, of maybe a cross-site podcast, if this thing could work. So it could be interesting. I don't know if it's going to happen, but well, I mean, we'll see. And I mean, it's going to be fantastic. Now, I'm going to give you a couple minutes back because this is the last week before things get real. I think everybody needs to understand that. This is the last week before things get real. So enjoy list season for the last couple of days. There will not be a Rebel Rankings Friday. That is basically a list season special. We're going to keep that on there, and then next year it will come back. It's going to be required viewing at that point. But right now, it is not. So it's time to get it cranked up and start covering football in earnest, and I'm excited about that. Until tomorrow, hotty toddy.